The digital pH meter can be used to make up simple solutions or for a real-time measurement of pH during a titration. Although it may sometimes be overlooked, having a properly calibrated pH meter can be an essential part of the success of a complex experiment. When you first use a pH meter, the probe should be immersed in a protective buffer. The probe is removed from the bottle and rinsed off. Then, the outside is wiped off with a Kim wipe. Carefully dab the probe without scratching it. The probe will now be immersed into each of the calibration solutions. Depending on the range of pH values to be measured, this is a 2-point or a 3-point calibration. These standards are purchased from a manufacturer and are accurately pHed to 2 decimal places for the most reliable calibration. The first standard is a pH 4 buffer. After immersing the probe in this buffer, the calibration button is pressed along with the stirrer button. When the pH icon stops flashing, you will press Calibrate again to move on to the next step. Before removing the probe, make sure the stirrer is shut off. Then remove the probe and rinse and blot as before. These steps will be repeated for the pH 7 and pH 10 standards, except at the end of the pH 10 calibration, the Measure Save button will be pressed instead of the Calibrate button. Once the calibration is done, the slope of the standard curve is calculated and given as a percentage of the theoretical optimum for that probe. As a probe ages, it will usually become less accurate and responsive, and the percentage will drop. A guideline is that a probe with a slope below 90% should not be used. Now that the pH meter is calibrated, it can be used in much the same way to measure a sample. The probe is rinsed and blotted. It is immersed in the sample. The stirrer is turned on, and after the reading stabilizes, it can be recorded. You will see that the pH meter has a consistent reading when the screen stops flashing the pH icon. The probe is always rinsed and blotted after use and must be returned to the bottle of stored solution. Make sure that the probe is submerged in the storage buffer, as the probe will be damaged if allowed to dry.